What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Six Studios. And today we're going to the Upside Down. That's right, we're going to be detailing and making a diorama of the one and only, the legend himself, Eddie Munson. Now, I got this figure for about $30. This is the Bandai Void series from Stranger Things, and I've not taken him out of the package yet, but the quality on this is very good. The only thing that's missing and lacking a little bit is just the paint job, but that's exactly where we're going to come in. Now, what we're going to be doing with this guy is making a diorama based off of the scene from the episode The Piggyback in the last episode of Season 4, where he's in the Upside Down and shredding to Metallica's Master of Puppets. And aside from having the Eddie Munson figure in there, we got demobats. Yeah, that's right, we're going to be detailing these bad boys, and they're going to be flying around Eddie as he's just going to work shredding on that guitar. I gotta tell you, I am so looking forward to doing this build. It is crazy. Well, we're burning daylight, so we might as well get to work. What do you think, Joe?
Sounds good to me, my little superpower friend.
Let's get to work. Okay, so starting the Stranger Things build, we got Eddie and the Demobats. Actually sounds like a Stranger Things punk band. Starting with the Demobats, they don't have the greatest amount of detail to them, but we could definitely do something with it. Maybe some shoe polish to get in there for the details, and then dry brushing on top. It's very hard to find a high quality photo of them in good light, since they're most of the time like bathed in shadow. Just gonna try best. I'm gonna take this shadow box that I found. I'm gonna remove the glass, actually. Found this other piece of wood. It's gonna go like that. It's gonna get screwed on top like so. So we're actually gonna take this paper holder and we're gonna cut it, because this is gonna double like the top of Eddie's trailer. I'm gonna have vines over that, be like the Vecna vines. So that's gonna go right here. Eddie playing guitar right there. And we're gonna have the bats flying on both sides. I know this is not really making much sense now, but bear with me, this is going to be great. Just open the box, get it. That's pretty cool. Ooh. Alright, so there he is. And overall, I gotta say, it's a pretty solid figure. All the parts of articulation is there. A lot of detail, like the bandana in the pocket. You got the chain right there. You even have, you can see, the handcuff belt buckle, and all the details in there on the vest. However, they didn't color in some of the pins or the patches, but not to worry, we're going to be hand painting that, as well as reprinting out the proper DO patch to go on the back here, because this just isn't accurate. Overall, this is really not going to require a whole lot of work, so probably going to start with a few washes, an acrylic yellow and red for the face and the hands, and then maybe just dry brush a little bit of brown in here, because his hair is not really black, it's just a dark brown, but just to kind of make it pop a little bit more, because the detail is there. And then after that, we're actually going to take him apart, and I'm pretty sure, boom, right there, and it pop right back on. It's a ball joint, and we're going to use that to our advantage in detailing the entire rest of the figure. So let's get to work. Okay, this is a side I never thought I'd have to see, but this was not easy getting off or undone. But this is Eddie Munson disassembled. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe Quinn, if you ever see this. I'm sorry. Now the camera's actually picking up on maybe a little too much detail, but it's a lot more muted in reality. The white dry brushing definitely makes it stand out a little bit more, make it look a lot more like how a denim vest. Okay, so right now we're about to start on the arms of the leather jacket. Now I actually went in and did one of the arms already. I dry brushed some gold onto it, and then I actually dry brushed some white onto it, making it kind of look like an old scuffed leather jacket. And I think the effect works, especially when you hold both of them next to each other. There is a difference. And then I'm just going to go in, paint that zipper real quick, even though Eddie's in the show has chains kind of looping them together. They didn't do it on the figure, but that's no big deal. But yeah, just going to be dry brushing the gold and then the white. So when it comes to the torso and the Hellfire Club shirt, I'm actually not going to do anything. Granted, there is a little bit of detail in there, but kind of want this to just stand on its own, so we're just going to leave that alone. Next up, we're going to actually take a white and dry brush it on his pants very, very subtly, just to kind of bring out the seams and the raised areas. His pants are a little faded. These are looking quite brand new right now. A little bit of white should bring it exactly where we need it to. So next up is Eddie's kicks. They're Reeboks from the 80s. Basically what we're going to do is just hit them with shoe polish, go all over, and then wipe off the excess. Maybe dry brush a little bit of white on, but we're going to see how it looks. Because either way, the shoes are predominantly white, so we want that to still show through. Okay, so now we're going to double back to the vest, and fans of the show will be very quick to tell you that the patches are either not there at all, or they are wrong. So what I did was I printed out to scale all the patches that are needed. Basically, we're just going to cut it out and use some Elmer's glue or some tacky glue, whatever I have. Just get it a little tacky, and then it should go right on, and then it'll dry. So right now we're going to focus on his hands and his finger position. So we're going to take a heat gun and just lightly go over it, and then take a pair of needle nose pliers and then put it into position of him playing guitar and him holding the pick. Okay, so time to make Eddie's guitar. Now, Eddie's guitar in the show is a BC Rich Warlock. Now, this is the one that Netflix sells. Very awesome quality in this, down to the paint job and actual strings. Totally worth getting. No, I'm not trying to sell anything. Just saying, it's awesome. But it's a little too big for the figure that we have. So we're just going to use this as a reference point. Now, what we have here is the guitar for my Diamond Select Crow figure. Now, what we're going to do is take this balsa wood, draw it out on there, make the appropriate changes, take a Dremel, cut it out and sand it down, and then we're going to make it specific and exclusive to Mr. Munson here. So let's get to work. Okay, so for the pickups of the guitar, I actually cut up an old folder. It's got an interesting texture to it, but we're going to scuff it up with some sandpaper and glue it right down, and then we're going to paint the guitar with acrylic paint, a matte black, and then we're going to take a very dark red and just kind of splotch it on here and there, because Eddie's guitar is quite unique, and we're going to try to bring out that same look. I'm not really going to worry about strings or the tuning knobs or the fret bars. It's not so much about the detail, it's just the feel of it. Okay, so this next step requires quite a few different steps rolled into one here. This is just a template of how it's going to look. I actually took the demo bat figures, and I realized that before I started detailing them, I'm going to have to drill holes in them in order to peg them into the shadow box here. Now the problem with that is this needs to get sanded down a bit. That picture back there, we're not using that one, we're going to use another one. We're going to put in lights. First we have to drill out the holes in the demo bats and in the shadow box. So here we have the upside down montage. Alright, so right now we're going to take a little bit of shoe polish and just use it to go in the crevices and all the muscle structures in there, just to kind of give it more definition. And then maybe we're going to do a little bit of dry brushing after that. Depends on how it looks. But I bet you never thought that you'd see a demo bat's butthole. And here we are. So now that the demo bats are all painted and detailed, we're now going to focus on the box itself, the structure for the upside down. Now Eddie's going to be in the middle here, but what we're going to do here is drill holes in the sides for the demo bats to be posted with the dowels. We're also going to have to connect the shadow box to the base. Now we're going to do that. We're going to drill holes on both ends of this, and we're going to use a screw and wing nut system. Seems pretty user-friendly, right? Wrong. The wing nuts, when tightened too much, would tear into the wood because this is soft wood. So what we're going to do is take this piece of metal here that I had laying around, cut it to fit the inside there on the top and bottom. So this is going to go inside the box, and then another one's going to go underneath, and that's going to act as a safety valve so it doesn't tear into the wood, and we can tighten it up and make it nice and flat and secure. Okay, so now that these two pieces of metal are cut, what we're going to do is drill holes in both pieces of the metal, and then we're going to be drilling it into the wood. Now, essentially, the wood and the metal are going to hold itself together, kind of like a clamp. Metal is basically acting as a giant washer. We're then going to take a wing nut and put it on the bottom of the screw, and the metal is really there because the tighter we make this, we don't want to tear away at the wood. So now we're going to drill a hole in the bottom center of the board, just to have an area to snake the wires of the LED lights and hide them in the finished product. Next up is the box itself and the lights. Now the box, we're going to be painting the entire thing this flat acrylic black. It's going to have a matte look to it. It's going to fit the aesthetic of it perfectly. And then with the lights, this is a 6.5 foot long LED strip. And I've marked it off strategically so that it'll do almost 2 full passes around, but it'll give us exactly what we need. Okay, so now we get to move on to the background. It's going to be the upside down sky, complete with lightning bolt. I did this on the iPad using Procreate, and the problem is it's a little too long just because of the printer that was used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper that was already in the shadow box, and I'm going to cut off the very bottom right here, and then I'm going to measure that up, and then I'm going to cut it at the top, and that should fit perfectly flush within the box. And I'm just going to use regular Elmer's glue and then just glue it down. So now we're going to install the LED strip, and it's quite simple really. Just got it started here. Just going to peel off like so. Cut it right there. So next up, we're going to work on Eddie's trailer. I actually found this at the dollar store, and I thought it fit the bill. This is a envelope / paper holder. What we're going to do is just chop it in the middle, chop off the sides here, and just use the front there. And then what I also found at the dollar store was this aluminum siding, and what we're going to do is just weather it a little bit, cut it up appropriately, and we're just going to put it on the side, kind of like how it is in the show where Eddie and Dustin were trying to protect the trailer from the demo bats. So might as well, right? Okay, so first I'm going to hit this with some gray primer, followed by some aluminum colored paint. Okay, so before we move on to the next step, which is just going to be detailing this, I actually bought a speaker for a couple bucks. The LED strip is supposed to flash along with music. The problem is, once this door is shut, because I kept the glass in there, it prohibits the sound from going in and registering. So what I think we're going to try to do, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. Drill 3 little holes right over here, because that's going to go right there, and this is going to cover it up anyway. And hopefully that'll work with the flashing of the lights. But if not, hey, gave it the old college try. So now I drilled the 3 screws, we put the speaker down right there, put the trailer on top of it, and we'll see if it works. Now obviously I can't play the song, but you know exactly what song I'm playing. Now sadly the music to light function doesn't really last for that long, but it lasts long enough to give the proper effect. So in the final reveal, of course I'm going to be cherry picking certain parts, just to make that clear. Okay, so now that all the side pieces are cut and folded over, just for safety's sake, as you can see right there, we're going to lightly weather the top of the trailer, and then we're going to go in here and just do a little bit of rusting every now and then, kind of be random with it, just to give a little bit of character right there. Alright, so it turns out that most of the polish actually came off of this, I guess because of the texture of the metal, but whatever was left, totally fine. And before we go in and do the rust effects with the acrylic paint, we're actually going to pre-drill the holes that we're going to use to mount it into the trailer itself. Alright, so I just finished up all the pieces of the metal siding, and honestly, this piece of metal that I chose is a little weird because in the camera, a lot of the detail isn't really picking up. What I'm going to do is go over it with a matte spray just to seal it all up, but yeah, for some reason it's just not really picking it up. There's going to be 2 pieces in the front, and what I did for the sides was I put a little Easter egg in there, Hellfire Club, so Vecna will know who sent you. The other one, we have nod to Eddie Munson himself. 86, baby. 86. Alright, we don't have too much more to go. Next up is all the vines, the Vecna vines, if you would, that go right across Eddie's trailer and basically everything in the upside down. And what we're going to do is I found this wired hemp in the floral section of Michael's, and I thought it was perfect. Had a nice little viney look to it, but it needs to be black, so what we're going to do is water down some black acrylic paint and more or less stain the whole thing. Then after that, it's time to rock. Chrissy, it's for you. Cut and print, that's a wrap on the Piggyback build, and oh my god, when I tell you I had a fun time making this, I had an absolute blast. And I hope you had a good time watching it. Not only did I have a fun time making the build, but it also gave me the opportunity to get together a cool Eddie Munson cosplay. So I figured, hey, as a win. Now if you like this video and you want to check out my other social media pages, find my Facebook page over here, my Instagram page over here, and as usual, stay weird and stay tuned.
I'm filming Joe. Joe, you're on. What do you want to say? The Six Studios interview today. How are you feeling today?
Feeling great. I feel like we just butchered a Metallica song.